So as most of you may know, Bullion Mints are the best way to train gags in Corporate Clash because it gives the highest multiplier, and it has decent leveled cogs. Like, the Office D does give a higher multiplier, but the cogs are like level 10 and 11 and 12. And so those cogs are a little too high, while Bullion Mints have level 9s and 8s, and gives only one multiplier less, so it allows you to survive the game very easily. So, and especially if you do it on Friday or with a gag experience booster, you can get even more points. Now, what you want to do, basically, is if sound is one of the gags that you're training, you want to use up all your sound gags before the supervisor. And I'll explain that when you get to this, when we get to that part. So, basically, that's exactly what I'll do. And if you ever find a barrel that has, like, your other gags you're training, then use 5 of those gags, preferably the highest one that the barrel can restock, and then a little bit of the highest ones that the barrel can restock, and then use the barrel, because I think the barrels usually only restock up to 5 of the gag. So yeah, use 5 of that gag. You prefer the highest one that you can hold that the barrel can also restock. But other than that, just use only sound. If sound is one of the gags that you're training, use only sound for all the battles except the supervisor, unless you find barrels for your other gags. And so I will come back when I get to the supervisor. I'll use up all my sound gags before the supervisor, and I'll come back when we get there. I guess I should also point out that if sound isn't one of the gags that you're training, then just train in the mint normally, but there's still a little trick you can do with the supervisor. So, yeah. Or if you want, you can just use sound all the way and then start training at the supervisor, but that'll take a little more time when you get to the supervisor. So if you're not training sound, then I would just recommend you just train normally, and then when you get to the supervisor, you do the trick. So, yeah. Okay, here we are at the supervisor. I didn't actually end up using up all my sound, because we actually got a lot of sound barrels. So, what we want to do here is lure the cogs in, and then kill 2 of them. You can leave any of the cogs still alive if you want to, honestly. So, we'll leave the highest one alive. So basically, what we're gonna do here is we're going to. So in the 1.1 update, Corporate Clash added in mini boss cheats. So the supervisor here is a mini boss. The mini bosses, well, the supervisor's cheat gives him the ability to heal whenever, as long as there are other cogs alive. So now we have to keep this Robber Baron alive, and we can just throw any gags we want at him as long as we don't kill him, and he will heal back that damage that we deal to him. This is one of the reasons why you want to have at least like 31 laugh, because he could do a maximum of 31 damage. So if you have 32 or more, he won't be able to one-shot you. And so if you are low on laugh like that, you want to make sure your friends are constantly healing you. We also have to be careful of the other cog that's still alive, the Robber Baron, because he could also wake up and deal damage. If you want to, if you have a higher tune, you can use a cease and desist on that cog. But considering you're gonna have to do a few Bullion Mints, you might run out of those, considering how many you might have. So just keep doing that over and over again. Make sure you're healing him, and you will eventually get your points in it. And since I still have sound left, and my intention was to use all my sound before this battle. Since I still have sound, what I can do is I can just use a bunch of low sound, and when the Rubber Baron dies, the supervisor has so much health that I can probably just use all my sound on him before he ends up dying. So that shouldn't be much problem. So if you do end up having sound left, just use low sound to high sound so you can get the most amount of sound in before the supervisor dies. And the reason you want to use up all your sound is because, again, if you use sound, you're going to kill that extra cog, which will make it so the supervisor can no longer heal. So you got to be careful about that. Now I think the next round, the Robber Baron is going to wake up. So what I would do here is have one of the other tunes, the higher tunes, use a sound gag. And then have the person training, or anyone else really, hit the supervisor. Because if you... The cogs, I think, are more likely to attack tunes who wake them up from a lure, especially if you use sound on them. So, the Rubber Baron might target Jake instead. See, there we go. Now he won't damage Jellyroll, because if he did go for Jellyroll instead, then that means that the supervisor can then do enough damage to destroy him to kill him. So we don't want that. So we have to make sure that the Robber Baron goes for someone who isn't Jellyroll. That way he can survive the supervisor's attack. Now we have to make sure this Robber Baron is lured for as long as possible, or goes as long as possible without attacking. So if they're both unlured, you can just use like a $5 bill, $50 bill on the Rubber Baron, or Hypno Goggles on both of them, and just use like a high gag on Supervisor so it doesn't miss. Or you can just use the Cease and Desist, and you no longer have to worry about the cog. But it will wake up after about like 10-15 rounds, so still have to be careful about that. Now he won't always go for Jellyroll, but he will most of the time, because Jellyroll is the only one actually doing damage to him. So we have to make sure we're always healing him. But if there's ever a round where he doesn't go for Jellyroll, then we don't have to heal that round unless Clyde or Jake happen to get really low on life. The tune-up is also good because if you need tune-up points, you can use that to train tune-up, and it also works as a stun in some cases, so that's good too. We also want to make sure that we use a tune-up that is strong enough to bring Jellyroll up past 32. And I think this cane will do 20 to each tune, which means he will bring him to 31, which is exactly enough for the supervisor to kill him if he does the high enough attack. So we don't want that. We have to heal Jellyroll directly, or we use juggling cubes. Or if Jellyroll had just slightly more life, we could use the cane. But again, there's also the chance that it could miss, and that would be bad too. And then also the lure can miss too, but that's one of the reasons why if I'm not using lure on a round, I would result to using a higher throw gag on the supervisor so that it has a higher chance of hitting him. Where if I am using lure, then I trust that it's gonna hit, and I use the lure. Throw on it. I think we have one more round until this Baron wakes up, maybe two actually, yeah. I'll trust that we have 2 left, so this is the second to the last round. I wasn't keeping track because I was talking. But if we don't, I'll just use Unite if we have to. I have enough of those to stay alive. I have plenty of those, honestly. Alright, so this is the last round we can do that. We can do this until we have to use sound again. Alright, so here we can use Bamboo Cane because, yeah. We'll do this one more time. Hopefully the robber baron won't wake up. Now it's up to you if you want to keep a stronger cog alive or a weaker one alive, but if you're planning on using sound on the supervisor at the very end of this, then you might want to keep the stronger one alive, so the supervisor can heal for just a few more rounds. Alright, cool. So we're now going to use sound on both the cogs, wake up the baron and have him target someone else. We'll do that. Use sound, the cake. As long as you don't, which if only one tune attacks them at a time, or we use low enough gags together, then the supervisor can't die. There is no gag that on its own can deal 315 damage. The highest amount of damage you could possibly do on your own from would have to be, I think, a prestiged wedding cake. Yeah, I think a prestige wedding cake with prestige lore. I think that's the highest amount of damage you can do, which isn't even 300 yet, so. Yeah. We'll do that. Hopefully this wedding cake will work. The highest gag, so we'll get the most points from it. Cool, worked, alright. Great, so now we're out of throw, so that's good. So now we just use low sound low to high, until the robber baron is dead. So we just keep using sound until the suppressor dies, really. But only he uses sound, so we can minimize the damage that they take, so we can get the most amount of health. Now the rubber baron might attack him. I might have to waste a unite here, which is alright. Yep, I think so. Nope, okay, cool. So the supervisor misses at probably the perfect time. So he didn't end up killing Jellyroll. We didn't end up needing the unite. I think the least amount of damage he can do is 21. So even if you use the weakest attack, he still would have died. So if you really want to, you can just skip to the supervisor and use all your gags, except for sound, on this battle, and you can still technically do it with the supervisor's healing factor. But again, that'll just be really boring and repetitive. That you might as well just do the whole mint. It'll be a little more entertaining to do that. Also, you have the risk of going sad many times if you just do that. If you just battle the supervisor the entire time. Okay, so the Baron is gonna die. So what I can do is just I'll just do that. I'll just use a little sound. Okay. The Baron's gonna die this round, so we're no longer in danger of dying. So now we no longer have to worry about an extra cog constantly doing damage to us. But now we also have to be careful because the supervisor can no longer heal. We have to make sure that we use low gags so we can get as many points as possible. Now, if you have SOS cards, you can also use restock SOS cards and just keep using those gags here. But again, if you do that every single time you go through the mint, you might run out. Especially because if you're a 134 tune, the only restock you're gonna have is probably gonna be Professor Pete, unless you want to use your unites. So I'm not going to use any of those. I mean, What other time are you gonna use those unites anyway, right? So you can do that if you want, but I'm not going to. It'll just make this video longer. I could just cut it out, but I don't want to spend that much time here because it'll just get really boring. I want to do another bit. It'll be much more entertaining. So that miss, they can both pass. Now it's just gonna be a long-ish process of just constantly using sound on the supervisor until he dies. So I'll just cut away until we reach the end. So see in a second. Alright, so here we are. The supervisor's at 49 health. Now, as you can tell, if I use a foghorn, he'll die. If I use a trunk, he won't. Or I can use an awooga in a trunk, and he will die. So what I should do is just use the highest gag I can use on him without him dying, and then after that use the highest gag. That way I can maximize the amount of points I get. So I will do that right now. Actually, we don't have to heal because he has 33 left. Which leaves him at 2 if he does his highest attack. So we're fine. So use the highest gag again. Use the highest gag you can use on him without him dying, and then use the highest one. All right, and then we'll finish it off with sound. There we go. Supervisor is now dead. And you get about 900 points. Yeah, just like that. Very nice points. And the max amount of points you can get from like really anything in this game is 1500. And so that is not bad at all. Now, I used to be able to achieve that when I was training lure and stuff, but that's also because lure doesn't kill the cons. It's just a gag, and you can use sound to unlure them through the process. Same thing with tune-up. And, yeah, same thing with tune-up. And even sound. If you want to just use slow sound, you can risk uniting stuff, you might actually be able to max points there. But that's probably the best you can do with throw. Sound. I use all of my gags except one single movement, and that's the amount of points I got. Like, there's no better way to do it. If you get more barrels, then yes, you can get more gags and get more barrels. If you use unites, you can get more gags with those unites. But considering I literally just use all my gags, I don't really know of any other better way to do this. So yeah, so you guys can take advantage of that, and get some good points in your mints. And maybe you might even be able to achieve 1500. Might be possible. Again, if you get enough barrels, you might actually go to that. So, see you guys later.